Hello everybody, I will start my today another live coding session. So today I solve this question. Read n characters given read4 to call multiple times. Given file and assume that you can read the file using a given method read4. Implement the method read to read n characters. Your method read may be called multiple times. Okay. Method read4. The API read4 reads 4 consecutive characters from the file. Then write those characters into the buffer array buff4. The return value is the number of actual characters read. Note that read4 has its own file pointer, much like file in C. So definition of read4 is like this. As the parameter, it takes chow array, which is buff4, and it returns the int. The buff4 is the destination, not the source. The result from read4 will be copied to buff4. Below is a high-level example of how read4 works. Okay, so let me get started. Oh, and method read. This is something I will implement. So by using read4 method, implement the method read that reads n characters from the file and store it in the buffer array buff. So, and I actually don't have the access to file directory, but I can call the read4 method and I can get the content of the file. Consider that you cannot manipulate file directory. The return value is the number of actual characters read. Definition of read. Parameters char, buff, int n. So int n. So this is the number of characters to be read. And this should return int. So ideally this should be n, but it's there. Yeah, I couldn't read n characters because of the end of the file. This return value should be smaller than n. Okay. Note, consider that you cannot manipulate the file directory. The file is only accessible for read4, but not for read. The read function may be called multiple times. So this means that I have to, have the pointer, or I should say the current position in the file should be, it should be stored in this solution method. Okay, solution class. And please remember reset your class variable declared in solution. Okay. And you may assume the destination buffer array buff is guaranteed to have enough space for storing n characters. Good. It is guaranteed that in a given test case, the same buffer buff is called by read. Okay. In a given test case, the same buffer is called by. I see. I don't know if this matters or not. But anyway, let me clarify my understanding. So in this question, I will implement the read method. So for this read method, this takes buff, which is the kind of big array, which should be updated, or I should say mutated with the file content. And it also takes n, which should be definitely integer, which is larger than 0 or equal to 0. So it doesn't specify anything. But let's assume that n is larger than or equal to 0. Okay, so this is the interface. And as a constraint, I can say, I will assume n is 0 or larger. Okay, good. That being said, let's take a look at the examples. So let's assume I'm given the file. I call the read method with something like this. and I'd like to read 6 characters. And actually, the file looks like this. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. It's wrong enough. In that case, this given list should be updated to A, B, C, D, E, F. And this should return 6. Okay, so this is the first example. Okay, second example. Let's say if this file has only 5 characters. In that case, I put those 5 characters in the given buffer. I mean, the buffer list is updated. Then I return 5 because I could read only 5 characters. Or, let me show this in this example. I've read until here. So let's say I'd like to read 6 characters again. In that case, this time, I should start from G, then H, I, J, and K. And now what happens is that I return 5. And if this method is called again, nothing happens. And this returns 0. So this is what I'd like to implement as the solution method. Solution class. And I can use the read4 method. Okay, let's think of the algorithm. So what I need to keep track in the solution class is current index in the file. Definitely I need this because read method can be called multiple times, and I have to start from the current position. So this is what I need, definitely. And aside from that, what I should do is keep calling the read4 method in the read method multiple times. Okay. That being said, let me think how I can implement this. So I think I have to take care of some edge cases. For example, read4 may return number less than 4, or returns 4 but it end of file. So this can happen in the read4 method. And aside from that, what I have to take care is read ends up with end of file and returns something less than n. Or this returns n, but it is possible that even though read method could read n characters, it ended up with the end of file. Sorry, my screen sharing was stopped for a while. But yeah, these are 2 cases I have to take care. And also it is possible that ends up and return n there while continues. Also, this is possible. So these are 3 cases I have to take care when I think of the read method. Yeah. That being said, let me get started the process. So start from current index and call read4 until read and Charles, or end of file. Yeah, I keep doing this until end of file. And every time I code this, I have to put the read result onto buffer and update current index. Then in the end, I return read count. Okay, so this is what I will implement. So for the details, let's talk what I'm implementing. So let me get started. So from here, the first thing I do is, wait a minute. So how many characters I've read? That's what I need. So this is the read count in this method call. Okay. So I have to keep calling until I read n characters. Yep. So here I still have to read more characters. I call the read4 method. And buff4. Let me check the interface. Yep, only buff4. And what is this? So read4 parameters buff and n. Implement the method, read n characters. This is the interface of read. For read4, it takes only the buffer. Okay. So I call some number of characters from with the read4 method. And I have to put this into the buffer. So I keep putting the result here. So this is the red character. So I put it into the buffer. And the thing is that the next index to be written is equal to the read count. Let me. Sorry, screen was not shared. Okay. So here I read with the read4 and I get the read4 count. So for that number, I iterate and I take the character I've read and put it into the buff. And read count is exactly the next index to be written because, for example, read count is 0. Yes, next index 0 should be the place to be written. Okay, and after that, what I should do is read count should be incremented. Oh, also here, wait, do I have to keep track of the current index in the file? I think I don't have to. Actually, this read4 method continues to read from the current position. I think I don't need this. Okay, that being said, here I put the result onto the buffer. Okay, this is it. And after that, I keep doing, But here I have to take care of the case when, this case. The read4 count, if this is less than 3, it means that it's the end of file. So here, I have to break because I cannot read anymore. Yeah. And I return read count. But this is still not enough because let's say I'd like to read 2 more characters, and actually read4 count could read 4 characters or maybe 3 characters. I don't have to put all of them into the buffer. So what I should do is remaining count to be read in this method should be this. That being said, I have to iterate up to rem count. So I call this times. So read4 count is the number of characters which are read by the read4 method, and rem count, this is the remaining number of characters to be put onto the buffer. So after calling the read4 method, I put this number of characters onto the buffer. And if rem count is small enough, less than 4, less than read4 count, read count becomes exactly n. So after here, it goes out of this while loop. Okay, I think this is good enough. So let me try out my code. So as I said, I have to take care of these cases. So let me start with ABC, and I'd like to read 4 characters. In this case, the array buffer should be updated with ABC and returns 3. So this is what expected. Okay. So in this case, read count is 0 first. Then here in line 57, read count. Oh wait. Yeah, I will talk about this later. I came up with something, I made a mistake. Okay, so read count, currently it's 0, which is less than 4. 3. Yeah, 4. So I update buff4 and read it, and I get ABC. And read4 count is 3. So rem count is n, which is 3. Sorry, rem count is 4 minus read count currently 0. Yeah, I should read 4 characters in this method, in this loop. Bad step. So here in line 61, mean of read4 count and rem count is now 3. So I put buff4 character 3 times onto the buffer. So ABC. R put onto the buff. And read count is incremented by 1. No, 3 times. So read count becomes now 3. And now read4 count is less than 4, so it breaks, go out of the loop, and I return 3. And now the array, buff array, looks like ABC. Okay, so I passed this test case. I think there are some cases I have to still take care, like let's say I'd like to read 2 characters only, and I read ABC. So in this case, wait a minute. Yeah, in this case, this should return 2. I could read all the characters, and yeah, array should be AB, and C is not read. But the problem here I've just come up with is, let's say I read only 3 characters first, and then in the next let's say read4 returns A, B, C, D. But n is now 2. In that case, I need only AB in the current method, but CD is not needed actually. But in the next method call, this CD has to be used. So that's something a bit annoying. Let me think. Yeah. So I have to take care of that. Here, buffer has some remaining characters. Okay, so let's think. Let's say I have the rim chars here, and remaining chars are put here. And here in the read method, I consume rem chars. Oh, sorry, not shared. Sorry, the screen was not shared. Okay, so I'm thinking of this case. So read4 returns ABCD, but I need only 2 characters. In that case, this CD is needed in the next read call. So I'm thinking how I can handle this. So my idea is, use the rem chars, which is a class variable, and in the read method, firstly I consume from rem chars. Yeah, I think this has to be you. Use it first in, first out. Yeah. So let me implement this. So what I can do is here, for count, rem count here. So yes, I iterate this read for count definitely, but actually I don't need this. Here, if n read count is less than n, yes, I put the result in the buffer, but otherwise I put the result push the result into rem chars. Okay, so in this way, rem chars has some remaining characters. So now here, I have to consume rem chars. So so let's put read count first. Until rem chars some character and read count is less than n. In that case, I should read this character from the rem chars. So this should be put onto the buffer. And increment read count. Yep. This is it. Now this should be char. So I actually can put it here. Okay, here, there are two cases when I'm at line 68. Number one, read count is less than n, but rem chars is now empty. Yeah, it's good. Or rem chars is not empty, but read count is equal to n. In this case, I don't go to this while loop and just return this read count, which is equal to n. Yeah, good. Okay, I think this is good. So let me quickly dry run my code again. So let's say I want to read now file is AB, and I'd like to read firstly one character. Then I'd like to read three characters. In this case, firstly, in line 74, I read and get AB, and this returns 2. So read for count is 2, right? And I iterate twice in this for loop. And because firstly read count is less than n, it should be put onto the buffer. Yeah. So A is put onto the buffer. And after that, read count becomes n, which is equal to 1. So in the next step, this is pushed into the rem chars. So this should now have B. Good. And that's it, because now read count is equal to n. And also because here, because of this, I break and I return read count 1. Good. And when I call read method with n3, read count begins with 0. And here, read count 0 is smaller than n. Yes. I go to line 69 and I put the first result B onto the buffer. And read count is incremented to 1. And I come back to line 68. Now, rem chars is now empty. So I don't go into this. And actually, now read count is 1. And wait, read count is 1 and n is 3. So I try to read it, but it doesn't return anything. Yeah. I think this is good because it happens only once. So the thing is that in the last code, I could find out that it's the end of file. But there I'm trying to call the buffer method here, sorry, read4 method here, and this returns the empty result. Yeah, I think, as I said, I think this is acceptable because this happens only once in this method. But yeah, for now, I don't take care of this. That being said, this returns read count 1. Yep, passed. Okay, good. So let me submit my code. Ah, I see. It should be self.remchars. And actually, this should be creaming case. So rem chars here too. So here and here, I need self. Good. Wrong answer. So when I call 2, this should return BC. Why is this? Oh no. But this expect AB. Yes, definitely. So this buff4 should have ABC. Let me print out. Yes, ABC. Wait, which case was wrong? Wait, this passes. What happened? Maybe this is called after some method call. Ah, I see. Now I understood. So that's something which is mentioned here. Please remember to reset your class variable declared in the solution. So this returned BC, but expected AB. But if I reset it, read method cannot call the previous characters. The problem is I don't know when is the end of this method call. Oh, but seems like output standard out is nothing. This means that this BC is from the previous call, I guess. Let me check. Ah, seems like so. But in that case, what? I don't need rim chairs actually. Let's try it. No. Wait, so after this queries, I'd like to reset. Yeah. But how can I reset rem chairs after these queries? It doesn't really make sense. Okay, now I understand. Maybe I understand something. I should store this not as the class variable, but as the instance variable. In this way, when the new solution class is initiated, instance variable is reset, but not the class variable. So maybe I should use the instance variable like this. Okay, let me try. Okay, accepted. Okay, good. So the thing is that I shouldn't use the class variable, but I should use the instance variable. Because the instance variable is reset when I create a new solution object. But for the class variable, the same one should be used for every possible object of the solution class. I shouldn't use it. Okay, good. That being said, let me quickly wrap up. So to answer the question, read n characters given read4 number 2. So in this question, I will implement the read method, which reads n characters from the file. But I don't have the direct access to the file in the read method. I have to use the read4 method, which can read 4 characters from the file, or I should say up to 4 characters until the end of file. Yep. And in my solution, so I kept calling read4 method, and I kept calling read4 method here, and I have to take care that if I've read enough characters, the remaining characters should be put onto the instance variable queue remchars, so that it can be used in the next method call. Yep. And also I have to take care if the read count is less than 4, it is end of the file. So I should give up and return number which is less than given n, expected number of characters to be read. Okay, that being said, I finished my today's coding practice. Thank you so much. Bye.